are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go pop, things that go round, with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I've come for a day out on a narrowboat. Have you ever seen a narrowboat? They're really long. And they're really narrow too. That's because they're designed to travel along these narrow waterways called canals. And there are miles and miles of canals all over the country that go to lots of different places. But do you know how a narrowboat would get from the top of a hill up here to the bottom of a hill down there? Well, luckily there's a clever way. Do you know what this is? It's called a lock, and it's a special kind of water lift. But do you know how a lock works? Let's find out. How does it work?
Canal lock.
You mustn't play near boats or water without a grown-up, but I've got special permission to go on board, so I can show you how a lock works to get a narrowboat from one level to another. On this part of the canal, there are 30 locks. It's called a flight of locks, and it's a bit like a staircase for narrowboats, so they can go up and down the hill. All locks work the same way, using gates called lock gates. And this one has one at the top and two at the bottom. And this middle part here is called the chamber. The chamber is very deep. It would be dangerous to get too close to the edge. And it's in the chamber where the narrowboat can travel up or down. But before we jump on board, I think we need to take a closer look at how a lock works. When a narrowboat wants to travel downhill, it reaches the lock gate. In the lock gate below is a little door called a paddle. The paddle is opened by turning a special handle called the windlass. The water from above rushes into the chamber below and it fills up. When the level of the water in the chamber is at the same level as the water above, the lock gates are pushed open using a big arm called a balance beam. The paddles are wound down and the boat glides through into the chamber. And the lock gates are closed behind it. Next, the paddle in the lock gate at the other end of the chamber is opened. This makes the water rush out, a bit like going down a plug hole, and the boat gets lower and lower. When the level of the water is at the same on both sides, the balance beam is pushed to open the gate. And the boat moves through and on its way. Isn't that clever? I'd like to see it all working for real though, would you? This is John and he's our skipper. He's going to be driving the narrowboat through the lock today. First, I'm opening up the paddle, the little trapdoor at the bottom of the lock gate, which lets the water in. And I'm using the special handle called the windlass. It's actually quite hard work. Wow! The chamber needs to fill all the way up to the same level as our boat. There we go, the chamber is full of water, and you can see it's at the same level as the canal where our narrowboat is, which means we can open the lock gate. I thought it would be really heavy, but actually I can get a good grip with my feet. There we go, that's the gate open. Time to get on the boat. I'm being extra careful as boats can be wobbly. Once the boat is in the chamber, the lock gates can be closed. We're nearly ready to go, and I'm going to use my special camera on a long pole so that you can come on board and travel down the lock with me. But first, the lock keepers, Steve and Jill, need to open the paddles at this end so that the water in the chamber flows out. Wow! We're actually moving down really quickly. Bye! Whilst we're just going down the lock, let's go to the other end of the boat to see what it looks like from the captain's point of view. Wow! Look at that. Can you see all of the water? At the moment, the water is gushing out of the chamber so that the boat is at the same level over that side. Right, let's go back through. When you're down here and the chamber's empty, you can really see just how enormous the lock gates are. And I can't wait for them to open to reveal a whole new part of the canal. Whoa! The gates are open. We can continue on down the hill. Absolutely brilliant. What did you like most about seeing how canal locks work? Do you remember the name of the special handle? That's right, it's called a windlass. Did you hear the sound of the water gushing in? And did you see the way the boat got lower and lower as the water rushed out of the chamber? Now, there are lots of different types of gates, just like the ones on the canal lock, and they can take you to new places. They keep things out, and they keep things in, like these sheep. There are big gates, little gates, park gates, and playground gates. And they're made out of lots of different materials. But do you know how a gate is made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Gate.
This is a metal workshop, and here they make lots of different types of gates. A gate starts out like this, as long pieces of metal called steel. This is Adrian, and he's a blacksmith, which means he makes things using metal. And first, Adrian picks the pieces of steel he's going to use, and then the pieces need to be cut so they're the right size. Workshops and tools can be very dangerous, so you should never go near them without a grown-up. To cut the steel, Adrian is using a big machine called a bandsaw. And can you see the really sharp teeth here? It's these teeth that will cut through the metal. But what do you think the bandsaw looks like? I think it looks like the wide open mouth of a crocodile. As the blade cuts through the steel, it gets quite hot. This is because of something called friction, which happens when two surfaces are rubbed together. It's a bit like rubbing your hands together. Give it a go. Can you feel them getting warmer? When the blade cuts against the metal, the friction makes the blade hot. So there's some water being poured over the blade to cool it down. For our gate, Adrian cuts 4 metal bars for the frame and 7 rods for the middle. Next, he needs to put holes into the steel, ready for the hinges. For this, he's using a punching machine. Did you hear that loud clunking sound? It's like a giant paper hole punch, only this one is much more powerful. Our gate is going to have a curved top, but steel is strong. So we're going to need a very strong tool to bend it with. It's called a ring roller. Now he's turning a screw, and that puts pressure on the metal. And next, he's turning a lever, and that moves the straight piece of metal backwards and forwards. And slowly, the metal starts to bend. Looks like a big smile, doesn't it? Our gate now has a curved top and some holes for the bolts. It's really starting to look like a gate, isn't it? But here comes the exciting bit, fixing everything together. And to stick all the bits of steel together, Adrian is going to use this welding machine. And it works by heating up small pieces of wire till they're so hot that they melt and act a little bit like glue. Welding creates lots of bright sparks, so we have to wear a welding coat to protect our clothes and a mask to protect our eyes. Wow, did you see all of the sparks? They looked like little fireworks, didn't they? But those sparks are really, really hot. But to show you just how hot the steel gets, I've got my special camera here. And this is a thermal camera. Now, cold things appear blue, but warm and hot things look yellow or red. But very, very hot things, they look white. So what colour do you think the sparks are going to be? Let's find out. Whoa! Look at that! Where Adrian has been welding, the gate is red and bright white, but everything else is blue. That's because where the steel has been heated, it's much, much hotter. Adrian is creating a swirly pattern for the gate using a set of scrolling tools. These can bend steel into different shapes. I think it looks a bit like a snail. All that's left to do is weld the swirls into position and fix on the bolts. Ta-da! And here we have our finished gate. All that's left to do is hang this on some hinges and it'll be ready to get used in someone's garden. What did you like most about seeing how a gate is made? Do you remember what you call the metal that the gate is made from? That's right, it's steel. Did you hear the sound the punching machine made? And did you see my special camera when the sparks were flying? It was bright white and very hot. So, the next time you see a steel gate, you'll know how it was made. And now you know how a canal lock works to get a narrowboat up and down a hill. I'll see you next time.